Rob Kendall, along with Tyler Bless, the head coach of the Plainfield Quakers. Coach, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Let's talk about the big win on Friday night. Obviously, got to be very thrilled. Your team back to winning ways.
Yeah, obviously, getting a home win is important to us. Getting it on senior night is even more important. Just proud of our guys for how we just kind of handled all those things pre-game activities to honor our seniors, along with our band and our cheerleaders and dance teams. As far as the game, I thought our defense played really well. Probably one of the better defensive performances we've seen from them all year long, and they've been solid all year long. So they did a great job of stopping the run. Didn't get beat deep on the back end of things. Gave the score up a little bit later in the third quarter, but very proud of how they performed throughout the game. Offensively, kind of felt like we ran a lot of plays in that first half. To come away with only 7 points was frustrating. We got to be better on third and fourth down. We were 3 of 4 in red zone, which is okay. But I think we just need to be have a better sense of urgency on some of those shorter downs, those third and fours or third and twos or fourth and twos. We've got to be able to convert those and keep moving the sticks and find ways to finish in the end zone. I think we were able, obviously, to do that in the second half. I was proud of how our offensive line kind of rose to the challenge at halftime from us coaches. Luke Starnes had a nice touchdown run late in the third. Bryce and Xander connected 2 more times in the second half. So those were all positive things that we can build off of. And then lastly, I think our special teams, it was a big challenge for us. Before Friday's game, the last 2 games, we didn't have any, game breakers, and there's a lot of things that go into that. But we were able to have 7 game breakers to Franklin's 1 on Friday night. So that is huge. Feel like we're still got some good football in front of us on special teams. I think we had, 3 major penalties that kind of wiped out some really nice returns by our kickoff return team or our punt return team. So, those are things obviously we'll fix in practice and we'll continue to drill that stuff. But overall, punting was phenomenal by Tucker Mitchell. He had 2 punts that I believe landed on the 1. That's huge in high school football to make a team try to drive 99 yards. Our kickoff coverage was really pretty solid. We did try a fake punt. We're about maybe a foot short. We'll try to, shore that stuff up and be better next time. But overall, I think our special teams is improving. It's got to continue to, especially going into this week. But overall, proud of our team for, finding ways to win. I think I continue to say this on the show. I think we continue to have each other's back. The defense picks up the offense, or the offense picks up the defense, or here comes special teams making plays. So those are all good signs of a good football team. I think we are a good football team. By no means are we a finished product and say that we're satisfied. But we're trending in that direction of starting to become the team that we want to be and start playing our best football towards the end of this month and obviously, into November and playoff time.
Talk about the idea of the bounce back. Obviously, tough loss the week before. You mentioned you guys didn't come out quite the way you wanted, but ultimately, what ends up being a pretty dominant score on the scoreboard. Talk about that bounce back and how that makes you feel about your team because now you're sort of back to winning ways.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to address a loss, and we're going to address a win either the same way. But I think for us, the best thing for us was to go and practice and go and play and get the bad taste out of our mouth and understand that, we've got to continue to practice how we're going to play. I think we're still challenging our kids to do that. Some of our position groups do a really good job Monday through Thursday of doing that. And there's others that need to be better, to be honest with you. And that's our part of our job as coaches is to keep finding ways to challenge our kids in practice, whether that's within some good on good segments or, some scout stuff or just, on air. But certainly had a better week of practice last week. Not that we had a bad one going into the Decatur week, but certainly want to get back to winning ways. And I think our kids understand that, like, hey, it takes time. It's a process. We've got to win Monday through Thursday. I think our kids do a really good job of understanding that. And then when it comes down to Friday, we say we got to ace the test, and it's not easy in this conference. There's not a week where you're like, okay, hey, like we don't have to practice this hard, or this one was going to be easy. Like we're not in that league, and that's good and that's fine. I would rather it be something that we've got to work for every single Friday. So our team's understanding that. I think our team's working towards that. Obviously, we got another big test coming up this Friday, but just to get back on winning ways is certainly important. Makes your day-to-day stuff go a little bit easier, but our kids are doing a great job of coming in and working and finding ways to win football games.
Let's thank our sponsors that make our Plainfield football broadcast possible all year long. They include Frigid Frog, New Wave Solutions, Gunnell Financial, Crone Family Construction, Adrenaline Fundraising, Crest Point Real Estate Coach P, Chris Pearson, Selwith Jones, the Stewart Home Group, Remax Centerstone, Julia Burbridge, Flora Brothers Painting, I-70 Wrecker Service and Garage, Units Moving and Portable Storage, Haynes Roofing and Remodeling LLC, Headquarters Barbershop, Edward Jones, Chris Hoskins, Ellis and Associates, BGW Construction, and Legacy Motorsports. So 6-1 now on the year. We'll be heading to Whiteland this Friday night. What do the Warriors bring to the table?
Yeah, the Warriors are playing some really good football. They've won four of their last, they've won four in a row. They're 5-2. They just came off of beating Mooresville at Mooresville. They're kind of a little bit very similar to us. They're pretty senior heavy, probably more on the offense than they are to the defense, but they've got a bunch of defensive starters as well that have played a lot of football for them. Quarterback's back. Running back is a really good player. He's a running back and the linebacker for them. They're still doing their jet sweep offense that Coach Fisher's done for years. We've got to be locked in on alignment and assignment and execution on the defensive end of things. Whiteland's defense is, again, flies around. Their defensive line is explosive. Their linebackers flow to the ball well. Their DBs don't get beat deep. They come up and make tackles. So, we've got to be on top of our stuff on Friday night on really all three phases, because even in the kicking game, Whiteland does a really good job of, if they get a score, they're going to try to maybe a surprise onside or a pooch kick or a sky kick. So we've got to be really sound in all three phases of what we're doing so we can secure the ball on kickoffs. We can convert on third and fourth downs on offense and find the end zone and score points. And then we've got to have a really good plan on defense and making sure that everybody's doing their job. Everybody's gap responsible. They're setting an edge. We're rallying into the ball. So another well-coached team by Whiteland. Coach Fisher is a Hall of Famer for a reason. He's done a great job with this group of kids that he has. Going there is a good opportunity for us to get, a huge road win in conference. We start our fall break next Friday after school's out. So, that would be a great way to start our fall break, is to get an awesome road win at Whiteland on Friday.
So let's talk a little bit about, obviously, we'll be entering week 8, which means sectionals are right around the corner, state tournament right around the corner. Is there a balancing act, or is it still just 1 week at a time? I know you never look ahead, but obviously that's coming. Kind of talk about how this final third of the regular season, you put this together, if there are any changes or anything you guys do differently.
Yeah, obviously this part of the season, your schedule is going to get just a little bit different. We've got, fall breaks all of next week. So we'll try to keep the same practice times, more so because of the lay coaches that we have in their work schedules. The sectional draw is next Sunday evening, so we'll know who we play, in sectionals prior to the Martinsville game of week 9. That's something that we would probably address on that Monday when we find out, or that Monday when we get back from school. We'll address it once and say, hey, this is on the horizon, but this is not our main focus right now, because at that time we'll still be preparing for Martinsville, and then 5A gets a bye. So there's going to be a period where we get a week off, which, kind of enjoy, just to get healthy and focus on us and maybe fine tune some things and get some kids some reps that we need to, keep getting better. And then, whoever our sectional opponent is, we'll focus on them and come up with a great game plan and fight like hell.
Can you take our audience behind the scenes a little bit and talk about, you touched on this very briefly, but I think this is interesting, how you respond as a coach for the week coming off a loss versus a win, or are there any changes? Is the message any different? Like, just walk our audience through, hey, 2 weeks ago versus this past week? Just if there are any, is there anything different?
Um, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a bad taste in your mouth after a loss. Like you probably look back and think of what you do a lot of what ifs and you do a lot of hindsight 2020. Well, I should have done this. I should have done that. And coming off of that loss, I was extremely proud of how our kids fought and played. Extremely frustrated with myself on some of the decisions that I made on offense. I thought our defense played well from that game. We knew that they have athletes; they're always going to. That's one of the reasons why they've been really good for very long. But where that happens after a week 6 and in our conference, you kind of sulk about it for maybe 24 hours, and you got to move on and get ready for the next one. Because going back to last week, maybe on this show, by the time I came in on Sunday, you're still kind of pissed off, to be honest with you. But you've got to be ready to get another game plan ready. You've got to present it to your players. You got to tell them and myself and our coaches, like, hey, we got to learn from this. We got to grow. But here comes the next opponent that's just as good. And I mean, Franklin's a good football team. They got that defensive lineman that they have that's going to IU is a really good player, and he put a lot of focus on what we wanted to do on offense. I thought our defense, like I said earlier, played really well in terms of stopping the running back. That kid runs really hard. So maybe like yesterday after a win, it probably goes by quicker than a loss. You spend some time with your family. You're proud of what we accomplished for that week, but then it's kind of it's like a drug where you just want to, I want to get that feeling back again. I want to be able to meet with our coaches and come up with another game plan, find ways to get our players the ball, make sure we put our guys in the best spot possible, and then you get to kind of do it all over again. It's truly, it turns into Groundhog's Day. Like for us to think that I think it's week 8. Yeah, it's week 8. It's like amazing because it goes by so fast. Sundays turn into Mondays that turn into your Friday afternoon sitting at your desk at school, and you're like, okay, let's get to the game. So a lot of things go fast, but that's kind of, I don't know, that's probably life, to be honest with you. But here we are in week 8.
Let's thank some of our fine sponsors before we wrap up the program today. Frigid Frog, New Wave Solutions, Ganell Financial, Crone Family Construction, Adrenaline Fundraising, Crest Point Real Estate, Real Estate Coach P, Chris Pearson, Sell with Jones, the Stewart Home Group, Remax Centerstone, Julia Burbridge, Flora Brothers Painting, I-70 Record Service and Garage, Units Moving and Portable Storage, Haynes Roofing and Remodeling LLC, Headquarters Barbershop, Edward Jones, Chris Hoskins, Ellison Associates, BGW Construction, and Legacy Motorsports. All right, Coach, before we get out of here, I know there were a few folks on your mind that really help make Plainfield football what it is every single year. Some behind-the-scenes folks, etc. Don't always get all the credit they deserve. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Obviously with Friday being senior night, there's a long list of people to thank on how that night goes and all the prep work for it. But obviously, it starts with our players. We've got 22 seniors this year. Some of those guys, if not most of them, have all played together since Optimus League. So for them to celebrate that together, with their parents that have obviously supported them throughout the years is great. We've got a couple of seniors that haven't played all 4 years and have come out and stuck it out and done a phenomenal job. So the big thanks is to those seniors of just obviously. I'm going to say it every year, and it's probably going to hold true, but like we're always going to be as good as our senior class. And I think one of the big reasons why we're 6-1 right now is because we've got a lot of young men that are seniors that are doing a phenomenal job, whether they played a lot of years for us and they just have a lot of Friday night experience. They're straight A kids that know how to prepare and study and do all those things right. Obviously, it helps when those senior athletes are good football players. Fortunately for us, we're in that position. That kudos to number 2, to their parents and guardians who have helped raise them. Obviously, we're not at the end of the season. We don't want to talk about the end of the season, but they've done a phenomenal job of raising their young men to be good people, good football players, good students. It makes our job as coaches a lot easier. The quarterback club that put it on, big kudos to Tracy Herbeck, Allison Ellis, Stacy Mantooth. Those ladies do a great job of organizing things and ordering flowers and cookies and cupcakes and having the table set up. So lot of behind the scenes of things that just when people show up, things are there. But the people that do that and set it up are amazing. And I truly have a lot of appreciation and respect for them because it's one less thing that I have to worry about because they do such a good job. And the third thing would just be I've been thoroughly impressed with our student section this year and our crowds, whether that's parents or fans of Plainfield football. I can hear them through my headset, and I've got 16 voices in my head. So to hear that and have that support, whether it's on the road or at home, has been amazing. So we want to continue that as we go into a stretch here for fall football. But a lot of thanks to people that do a lot of good stuff for Plainfield football. That want to see us be successful, that gives us the resources to do that. So thank you to the seniors, the parents, and our student section and our fans that have been supporting us on Friday nights.
All right, well, let's get a big win on Friday night, Coach. Look forward to hopefully talking about a 7-1 Plainfield squad, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Okay, sounds good, Rob. Thanks.